So in the last session, we discussed about calendar, currency, chart of accounts. With the calendar, you can capture the date, and with the currency, you can identify the amounts or belongs to which currency. And with the chart of accounts, you can write the description of the transaction. The transaction belongs to which company, which department, which account, what are the other key information you want to include as a part of description, all you can capture with the concept called as segments. So this is what we discussed. Now, if you want to create the transaction by using these three components, let's call them as a components. Okay, by using these three components, I'm just copying here. By using these three components, if you notice, calendar is starting with the C, chart of account is starting with the C, currency is starting with the C. Simply these three you can call as three C's. Okay, you can call as three C's. First C is calendar, second C is chart of account, third C is currency. By using these three C's, you can create the transaction. What we can do is we can group these three C's and we can create the primary ledger. Okay. We can group these three C's and we can create the primary ledger. How do we create the primary ledger? By grouping these three C's, we can create the primary ledger. Now, by using the primary ledger, you can record the transactions. By using the primary ledger, where we can record the transactions. We discussed about different applications. Okay, we discussed different applications, GL, APR, CM. And apart from GL, all other applications we call as subledger applications. But if you want to record the transaction by using the primary ledger, if you have only these three C's within the primary ledger, you can record the transactions only in the GL application. Okay. If you create the primary ledger by using the calendar, currency, chart of accounts, these three C's, we can record the transactions in general ledger application. If you want to record the transactions in the subledger application, other than GL, all applications are subledger applications. Along with the three C's, we need one more component called as accounting method. This you can call as subledger accounting method also. The technical term is accounting conversions. Okay, technical term is conversions. Now here, if you have a primary ledger with a calendar, currency, chart of accounts, you can record the transactions only in the GL. If you want to record the transactions in, say, payables, AP, AR, CM, FA, PO, INV, inventory, take any other application. So in any other application, if you want to record the transactions, along with these three C's, we need one more component called as accounting method. So what Oracle says is, anyway, these three we are calling as three C's. Instead of calling three C's and one A, just they are saying just consider second letter C within this. So now these three C's plus here is a second letter C, total four C's. If you create the primary ledger with the four C's by using the that primary ledger, you can record the transactions in the subledger application. We know what we have inside of the calendar, currency, chart of accounts, right? Within the calendar, you can capture the date. With the currency, you can identify the amounts. With the chart of accounts, you can track the description of the transaction. What about accounting method? Say, for example, you are creating invoice in the payables application. When you create the invoice, how the accounting should take place? How accounting should take place? Okay, what accounting entry system has to create that we can find within the accounting method. Say in the payables, you are creating payment. Against invoice, you are processing the payment. When you create the payment, what accounting entry system has to create? That accounting rules you can find inside of this accounting method. If you are creating any transaction in the receivables, say sales invoice, how accounting should happen? If you are creating the receipt, how accounting should happen. In the fixed assets, if you create asset, what is the accounting entry? If you do the depreciation calculation, what is the accounting entry? The same way within the inventory application, if you create any transaction, what is the accounting entry? So what are the transactions we are going to record in the subledger applications? Based on the transaction, what accounting entry system has to create, all the rules are predefined within this. Okay, within the accounting method, we can find all the accounting rules. Okay, predefined accounting rules. All the rules Oracle is providing. You no need to go and set. All Oracle is providing. If any client wants to change that, we can change. That we'll discuss when we are working on it. Once we start working on payables application, we'll go through it. But now simple point what we have to understand is within the accounting method, we can have accounting rules. For which transaction, which accounting entry system has to create, Oracle is providing all the rules. So if you include this accounting method in the primer ledger, if you create the invoice in the payables application, you can capture the date with the calendar, description with the chart of accounts, amounts, you can identify the currency. And for the same transaction, which account system has to debit, which account system has to credit, what should be the final accounting entry, all can be taken care by system with the help of accounting method. Since the accounting method we are going to use only in the subledger applications, you can call it as subledger accounting method also. You can call as accounting method or subledger accounting method. Within this, what we can do? Accounting rules. Okay, we can have accounting rules. For now, you no need to understand this point. Once we start working on that relevant transactions, we'll go through once again. I'll show you how Oracle is providing. If you want to modify, how to modify, how we have each and everything inside of it, we'll discuss more detail level. But now simple point what we have to understand is, if you create the primer ledger with the 3 C's, that you can use only in the GL application. If you create the primer ledger with the 4 C's, you can use that primer ledger in subledger applications also. In GL application, we don't need any accounting rules. Directly you can enter what account should get debit, what account should be credited. 99% of transactions we record in the subledger application only. The GL, mostly we record adjustment entries. So that is the reason always we record business transactions in the subledger application. So when you create the primer ledger, you should select accounting method within the primer ledger, so that will help us to create accounting entries in the payables, receivables and other applications. So this is the point we have to understand. Okay. So here we discussed a few points. Okay, here we discussed a few points related to chart of account segments. So when we are going to record the transactions, out of all these segments, which is our primary segment? What level you want to record the transactions? What level you want to produce the reports? That's very important. Of course, all the segments we are going to use for reporting only. Which is your primary segment? Okay, which is your primary segment that you have to identify. Ideally, company is the primary segment. So with the company segment, we will balance the transaction. Each and every transaction what we create, we have to balance at company level. That means if you spend some expense, okay, which company is spending, which company is liable to pay that amount, which company is spending or which company paid, that we have to write in the system very clearly. So that is the reason within our chart of accounts, what are the segments we have, which is the primary segment we have to specify in the system. Okay, which is the primary segment? That segment you can call as primary balancing segment. Ideally, company segment we call as primary balancing segment. Okay, that means company level only we do the balancing. Reports will generate what are the expense you are spending, how much revenue you are generating, everything will identify at company level only. What exactly we can take as a company, we are going to discuss the relevant points. For now, these are the few points. Okay, to create the transactions in the GL with these 3 C's, if you have a primer ledger, that is more than enough. If you want to create the transactions in the subledger applications, along with these 3 C's, we need one more C called as accounting method. With the 4 C's only, you can record the transactions within the subledger applications. And why we need accounting method? When you create any transaction in the subledger application, how accounting should take place, we require certain rules. All the rules you can find within the accounting method. That is the reason we need accounting method as a part of primary ledger. Okay. So this is a point we have to understand. This is all about primary ledger. Now we'll discuss few points. If you are going to implement for any company this Oracle Fusion applications, that could be financials or anything, how we have to design the solution. Okay. How we have to understand to bring that real business environment to system environment. That is very, very important. The total business data we can classify into four types. We can take into four classifications. The one is employee data. Okay, employee data and registration data. The third one is business transactions data. The fourth one is warehouse data, or say stock, or say inventory, anything. So complete total business information, you have to go with these four primary classifications. Okay, when we are bringing any client business data into the system, our application, we have to classify the data as employees data and registration data, business transactions data, and warehouse data. Okay. So how we can maintain the employees information in the system? Okay, how we can maintain the employees information in the system? If you want to maintain the employees information in the system, we have to create enterprise. With the help of enterprise concept, we can maintain the employees information. Yes, with the help of enterprise concept, we can maintain the employees information in the system, but by using which applications? By using HCM applications. HCM stands for Human Capital Management. Already we discussed, right? In the first session itself we discussed HCM stands for Human Capital Management. That means as a part of HCM you can have payroll application, HR application, talent, absence. It's completely related to employee management. Okay. So to maintain the employees information in our system, what we have to do? We have to create the enterprise. With the help of enterprise, you can maintain the employee information. To process employee related transactions or any data, we take the HCM application help. That means by using HCM applications, we can maintain the employees data in the system with the help of enterprise concept. With the enterprise concept, you can maintain the employees information in the system by using the HCM application. If you want to maintain the registration information, say one company is running the business in US. If they are running the business in US, they should go with the registration process. Okay, before they start business, they have to complete the registration. If they are running the business in one country, one registration is enough. Even they might be doing 3-4 businesses. For multiple businesses also, one registration is enough. If they are doing the 4 businesses, if they want to go with a separate registration, yes, they can go with a separate registration. That totally depends on the company. To run the business in one country, they have one registration or multiple registrations, they can take the decision. But ideally, to run one or multiple businesses in one country, one registration is enough. When we are doing this implementation for any company, what we have to do is, how many registrations the company has, those we have to create in the system as a legal entity. Okay. Those we have to create in the system as a legal entity. Legal entity is nothing but company registration. Okay, legal entity is nothing but company registration. So in short, we can call as LE. With the legal entity concept, we can maintain the company registration information. Say the client has 3 registrations to run the business in US. Reason, they might be running 3 different type of businesses. Each type of businesses, if they want to have a separate registration, yes, in that case, we have to create the 3 legal entities in the system. The simple point is when you do the implementation, how many registrations they have, accordingly we have to create the legal entities. Okay, accordingly we have to create the legal entities. So in the legal entity level, legal entity means company identification. So company, okay, the entity, okay, which is registered to run the business. So this legal entity level, you can just maintain the cash management application. Okay, the cash management application you can maintain at legal entity level. In the cash management, we maintain the bank accounts and all. The bank accounts and all owned by which company? With which company you have a registration, that company, your registered company is nothing but legal entity. And if you want to record the business transactions, if you want to record the business transaction in the system, you have to create the environment called as business unit. You have to create business unit. Say BU. With the BU concept, we can record the business transactions. That may be purchasing activities or sales activity or any activity. So all you can record within the business unit. Any business transactions, if you are going to record in the system, we have to create business unit first. Within the business unit, we have to record the business transactions. How many business units you have to create, we will discuss. Okay, first we'll see the business unit level, which applications we can maintain. By using the business unit concept, we can record the transactions in AP application, AR application, and PO application and OM application. Okay. So these are the applications primarily. Whatever we discussed within that, AP, AR, PO, OM, these are the applications which we can maintain as a concept called as business unit. So, and warehouse. If you want to maintain the stock, what is the stock we have in the inventory? There could be some inventory transactions where they can move the material from one inventory to another inventory. If they have multiple warehouses, they can move the stock from one inventory to another inventory. So within the one inventory organization, we can have a multiple sub inventories also. That point we discussed as a part of O2C cycle. If they are moving the material from one sub inventory to other sub inventory, all these inventory related transactions, if you want to maintain in the system, to maintain the stock, to maintain the inventory related transactions, we have to create a concept called as inventory organization in the system. We call as IO. Okay, we have to create inventory organization in the system. With this inventory organization, you will be able to record the transactions. To record the inventory related transactions within the inventory organization, we have to use the application called as inventory. Already discussed, we have a Oracle Fusion Inventory application. By using that application, you can record the transactions within the inventory organization. So this is the point we have to understand when we talk about the primary classification of data. So business unit, okay, the business unit to record the primary business transaction. What are the business transactions you record? Most of the transaction will record within the business unit. And when you talk about enterprise, to maintain the employees information, with the help of enterprise concept, you can maintain the employees data. To maintain the employee data with the concept called as enterprise, we need applications. Without application, no data you can maintain in the system. So even there are some concepts, these all will use respective applications to maintain the relevant data. Okay, to maintain the employees data, we use enterprise concept. When you use enterprise concept, by using HCM applications only, you can maintain the employees information within the enterprise. The same way, if you want to maintain the company registration information in the system, that you have to maintain with a name called as legal entity. How many registrations the company has, those many legal entities we have to create. And that level you can maintain the cash management. What are the bank accounts are owned by that legal entity? That means that company, all you can maintain in the cash management application. And what are the core business transactions we do? The day-to-day, what are the real business transactions the company performs? All you can record within the system, within the business unit. When you are recording the transactions within the business unit, we can use these different applications. If the transactions belongs to payables department, you can use AP application. And if the transactions belongs to receivables department, you can use this application. If that is related to purchasing department, you can use. It may belong to any department, but that you have to record within the business unit. Okay, we'll discuss few more points on that. You can understand what does it mean by business unit, how many we have to create. And inventory organization. Okay, inventory organization. To maintain the stock and to perform the inventory related transactions, we use inventory organization. So when we use inventory organization, we need a application called as inventory application. By using inventory application with the concept called as inventory organization, you can maintain the stock and you can perform the inventory related transactions. So just now we discussed one point. Okay, just now we discussed one point. So to record the business transaction in the system, we need something. What is that? Primary ledger. Okay, to record the business transaction in the system, we need primary ledger. So that also you can take here. Okay, we need primary ledger. So with the help of primary ledger only, you can record the transactions related to employees within the enterprise concept in these applications. Even legal related transactions also, if you want to record, you need primary ledger. Within the business unit, if you want to record any business transaction, any application, we need primary ledger. Within the inventory organization, with the help of inventory, if you want to record any warehouse related data or warehouse related transactions, we need primary ledger. So primary ledger, as per our application, we maintain GL application and FA application at primary ledger level. So this is how we can maintain the different applications in the different levels. And along with this, what are the business you are running? Okay, what are the business you are running? If you want to segregate that business, say you are running the business in US, you are running the business, two type of businesses. The two type of businesses you can maintain as a divisions, two divisions. The two type of different businesses you can maintain as a divisions. The division you can create in the system may be based on the type of business, vertical of businesses. If you have 4 different businesses, okay, in the system you can create 4 divisions, or else you are running the business in only one country. Okay, you may take East as a one division, West businesses are one division, South businesses are one division, North businesses are one division. Okay, this is how you can do the divisioning within the business, how you are going to division your business operations that you can take into the system, or else you are running the business across the multiple countries. In that case, you can take divisions like APAC region, EMEA region. This is how you can do the divisioning. So divisioning is the just kind of logical segregation based on the business, how you are doing reality. And again, when we are going to create the client business environment in the system, the division concept is not mandatory. Okay, in the most of the implementations, you don't see this division at all. So primarily when we are going to do the implementation for any company, we have to create the enterprise to maintain the employee information. Even if you create the division, no applications, okay, we can map here. That means no business transaction you can record. This is just for logical segregation, maybe for reporting purpose, how you are operating the business. Okay, there is no additional benefit if you are going to have it with the division. Here you cannot have any applications. So we don't create the division. Even that flexibility Oracle is providing, so most of the cases we don't use it. Again, they given this is completely optional. Remaining whatever we are discussing, all are mandatory. If you are doing the implementation for any company, you have to create enterprise, you have to create primary ledger, legal entity, business unit, inventory organization. Division is not at all required as a mandatory. So enterprise to maintain the employees information, primary ledger to record the transactions across all these except division, and the legal entity to maintain the company registration information, business unit to record the core business transaction, day-to-day real business transaction can be recorded with the help of business unit, inventory organization to maintain the stock and do inventory transactions. So this is how we have to create the environment in the system. Okay, this is how we have to create the environment in the system. I have a simple slide here to discuss on the same point. Say in these points we discussed. Now here whatever we discussed, this we call as enterprise structure. When we are going to create this enterprise, division, primary ledger, legal entity, business unit, inventory organization, the system, okay, all these when you create in the system that we call as enterprise structure. Okay, we are going to structure the enterprise. Under enterprise, how many divisions we have, under division how many primary ledgers we have, under primary ledger how many legal entities we have, under legal entity how many business units we have, under business units how many inventory organizations we have. Those are the points we have to understand. When you talk about enterprise structure, this is fixed. Okay, So on top level, we can have enterprise where we can maintain the employees information. Under enterprise, you can have a divisions where you can segregate the business based on the business type or based on the geographies where you are operating the business. Under divisions, you can have a primary ledger to record the business transactions. Under primary ledgers, you can have a legal entity, okay, which is nothing but registration of the company. Under the legal entity, you can have a business units. Under business units, you can have inventory organizations. Now let's talk on this point. If you are going to do the implementation for any company, how many enterprises you have to create? You are doing the implementation for one company, how many enterprises you have to create? When you do the implementation for one company means only one client. Okay, one client. When you are doing the business, when you are doing implementation, so you can have only one enterprise. Okay. So what are the applications we are going to use? Those applications would be available in the instance. Okay, the software package which we are going to access to work on all these applications that we call as instance. Okay, the instance contains the applications to implement and to use. A software product, the environment we call as instance. So for every client will get instance for the implementation and usage. So in one instance, you can have only one enterprise. That means for one client, we can create only one enterprise. One enterprise, that is whom we are implementing. The name we will provide as enterprise. When you talk about divisions are not mandatory. Okay, division concept is not mandatory. Even if you have a division, you cannot record any transaction division wise. You cannot record any transaction division wise. If you want to take the advantage of division, take division as one of the segment within the chart of account so that you will be able to record the transaction. This transaction belongs to which division. So that's how you can take the advantage of division. If you include division as a part of chart of accounts, if you are going to have a division within the enterprise structure, there is no great advantage. Just for information purpose, you can have accordingly, you may plan the reporting, but you cannot record the accounting transactions. Okay, business transactions you cannot record with a division, but if you have a division within the chart of accounts as a segment, you can record the business transactions. So here, reality, how many divisions you want to have based on the geographies or based on the nature of businesses which you are doing, accordingly you can plan. When you talk about primary ledger, how many primary ledgers we have to create? Ideally, for each country, one primary ledger we have to create. If client is operating the business in two countries, you have to create two primary ledgers. Why we cannot maintain one primary ledger for two countries? Reason, for each country currency is different. If currency is not different, if two countries calendar is same, if two countries chart of accounts are same, if two countries accounting method is same, you can go with only one primary ledger. The simple reason is for each country currency is different. That is the primary reason we have to go with the separate primary ledger for each and every country. Okay, separate primary ledger for each and every country. If you are implementing for one country, create one primary ledger. Sorry. Sorry. 1 second. Okay, if you are going to do the implementation for one country, you have to create one primary ledger. Sometimes you may have to, generally client won't go with that option, but for your understanding, why we may create more than one primary ledger in one country. Say for example, client is operating the business in US. They are into two different businesses. One is consulting, other one is a financial services. Okay, they have two businesses. They have two businesses. When they have two businesses, say they have a separate registration. They have a separate registration. As per consulting business, they need 8 segments in the chart of accounts. As for financial services, they need 10 segments. When you look into these segments, the segments are totally different from consulting. The financial services segments, whatever they need, those are totally different from financial services. So since they need separate segments, Okay, for consulting and financial services. For consulting, we create one chart of account. Financial services, you can create another chart of accounts. If you create two chart of accounts for two businesses, to use those two chart of accounts, you have to create the two primary ledgers. Okay, calendar will be same in the two primary ledgers, currency will be same, accounting method will be same, but chart of accounts are different. That is the reason you may create two primary ledgers in one country. But reality, what we do is, if client is running the business in 5 countries, nowadays just in all the implementations, what we do, will create single chart of accounts. The same chart of account can be used by multiple countries. That means what, for 5 countries, if in 5 countries if you are running the business, in 5 countries will create 5 primary ledgers. Based on the country, you will select the respective calendar, and based on the country, you will select the currency. Based on the country, how you need, you can select accounting method, but chart of accounts you can use the same. If you are going to use one chart of account in the multiple countries, that we call as global chart of account, or else you can create country specific chart of accounts also. If any company is going to run the business in the multiple countries, and if you are going to do the implementation, so 99% we create the global chart of accounts. The same chart of account can be used by multiple countries. If they are not interested to use one chart of account for multiple countries, country specific chart of accounts you can create, but generally we don't create more than one chart of account in one country. Even if they have multiple businesses, to support multiple businesses, what are the segments we require, all will include in one chart of account. So that is the reason ideally we create one primary ledger in one country. If they want to go with more than one primary ledger, they can go, but that won't become a great practice. So ideally one primary ledger we create for one country. Okay, one primary ledger per country. How many legal entities? It's very simple. How many registrations they have, those many legal entities we have to create in the system. Okay, how many registrations they have in the business, accordingly we have to create those many companies, legal entities. Say they are running the business in India, they have only one registration. They may have one business or multiple businesses, doesn't matter. To operate those one or multiple businesses, how many registrations they have, those many legal entities we have to create. There is no other point to consider here. How many registrations they have, those many legal entities we have to create. That's all. And when I talk about business unit, on what base we create business unit? It's very simple. Ideally, we create business units based on the branches. Say client is operating the business in US. Take example Walmart. Okay. So if you are doing the implementation for Walmart, how many outlets they have, those many business units you have to create. How many outlets they have, those many business units we create in the system. The reason, in each outlet, in each branch, what are the business transactions they are performing, you have to record separately. You have to maintain the data security. Okay, the data should not be accessed by other outlet. And what are the expense they are spending, how much revenue they are generating, everything they have to maintain separately so that they can produce the reports. That is the reason we have to create for each branch separate business unit. How you want to maintain the business records separately, accordingly you can create the business unit. The very basic parameter which we consider is branches. How many branches the company is they're operating their business in, how many branches, those many operating in it, the business units we have to create in the system. 10 branches, 10 business units, 20 branches, 20 business units. So this is how we have to create. And one more point, in the chart of accounts, whatever we discussed as a company, discussed as a companies. These companies also will decide based on the business units only. How many business units we have, those many companies we have to create. In reality, those are not companies, those are branches. Those are branches. So as per your business, you have a 20 business units. That means say 20 branches we have. That 20 only you have to create as a 20 companies. Under company segments, the 20 branches we create as a 20 companies. Reality company may be one, but in the system, to track the business transactions more detail level, which will facilitate any sort of reporting, we have to take each business unit as a separate company into our chart of accounts. So always we have to make sure that the number of business units are equal to number of companies, so that we treat always best practice. Okay, best practice. Say you have a two different businesses. Reality, you have two different businesses. So if you have a two different businesses, so consulting business you are doing in 10 locations, and financial service business you are doing in, sorry, the financial business you are doing in 5 locations. Total how many locations? 15 locations. Now we have to create 15 business units. Those 15 business units only you have to take as a 15 companies. So this is a very important point which you have to understand. Okay, so how many business units you have as per your real business, those many companies you have to create within the chart of accounts. Okay, those many companies you have to create in the chart of accounts. When you talk about inventory organization, how many inventory organizations we have to create? Reality, how many warehouses company has, those many inventory organizations we have to create in the system. We have to create one additional inventory, which is a virtual one, that we'll discuss when really we have to understand. For now, simple point is how many inventory organizations we have to create, how many warehouses they have as per real business, those many inventory organizations we have to create. Okay, so this complete information what we are discussing, this we call as enterprise structure. So when you talk about enterprise structure in the Fusion application, top level we can have enterprise. Under that divisions we can have, under divisions you can have primary ledger. Under primary ledger you can have a legal entity. Under legal entity you can have a business unit. Under business unit you can have a inventory organization. Under business unit you can have a inventory organization. Is all are mandatory when you implement the solution for any client? No. Divisions are not mandatory. Rest of all are mandatory. Rest of all are mandatory. So this is the point we have to understand. I taken the simple case and I just prepare some other slide. Let's go through it. Here I taken the simple example. There is a company called as ERP Tree. They are operating business with the two different divisions, consulting division and electronics division. Okay, consulting division and electronic division. Okay, so those two divisions they are running the business in only one country, USA, so only one primary ledger. But for these two different businesses, consulting and electronics business, say they have a separate registrations. For consulting, whatever the registration they have, that we are calling as ERP Tree consulting legal entity. Electronics registration, ERP Tree electronics legal entity. So with this registration, the consulting business, they are operating in the two locations. One is New York, other one is Dallas. So for New York, one business unit, for Dallas, other business unit. And for New York, okay, since it's a consulting, there may not be a warehouse where they can maintain the stock and all, just it's stores inventory, here also stores. But electronics, so they are operating in the two locations, accordingly two business units. And in the Austin, what business they are doing? Computers, maybe computer sales, that is the computers inventory. The Los Angeles, they are dealing with the computers and mobiles, they can have a inventory organizations according. Okay, under one business unit you can have a number of inventory organizations. Reality how they have, accordingly we have to create in the system. Here I take in the case, under this they have two warehouses. So this is the enterprise structure. If you are going to do the implementation for one company who is operating the business in US and who are running the business with these two different divisions, consulting and electronics, you can just create the enterprise structure in the system as per this slide. Okay, and I taken one more example where the client is operating the business in 4 countries. Enterprise is only one. The company is ERP Tree Enterprise. They have a 2 divisions. Okay, before that there you can just look into that. They are operating the business in 4 countries. One is India, other one is Singapore, France and UK. When they are operating the business in the 4 countries, okay, the 4 countries, thus India and Singapore falls under APAC division. Okay, and France and UK falls under EMEA division. That's how I taken these 2 divisions. Under this APAC division, these are the 2 countries where they are operating the business. Accordingly, for each country one primary ledger. To operate the business in India, they have a registration. For that we have ERP Tree India legal entity. And within India, they are running the business in the 2 locations. One is Delhi, other one is Hyderabad. So for Delhi, they have one inventory called as computers. For Hyderabad, they have mobiles inventory. In the same way, Singapore, they are operating the business in only one location, and what they are dealing with the mobiles. Okay, they are stored, just maintain the mobile stock within that warehouse. And in the France, okay, one is for France, one registration they have only in one location. They have operations, and what they are dealing in the France cars. Okay, they have a warehouse to maintain the stock for cars. And UK, I take in the two locations. With the UK registration, they are operating the business in two locations. One is London, other one is York. And for London, there is no inventory. Yes, maybe in the London, they might be dealing with some consulting services. In case of consulting, no warehouse is required. And here I taken as a bikes. So this is how you can create the enterprise structure. Generally, we don't include the division as a part of enterprise, since that is a completely optional component. If client wants to include, we can include. By including, there is no great advantage. See, if you want to do the reporting under this APAC division, how much business we did. You have to take Delhi, Hyderabad, Woodlands, this three business units business, that all falls under this APAC division. That's how you can just to represent this all falls under what as per reporting and all we can use. But when you are recording the transactions in the Delhi BU or Hyderabad BU or Woodlands BU, you cannot select this transaction belongs to APAC division. That is not possible. Just for information purpose, to maintain the hierarchy, which can be useful in the HCM applications and other applications also, you may include the division. Okay, reality, if you do the implementation, since division is optional component, there is no great advantage of division. This is how we'll create the enterprise structure. Without division, enterprise, no division. Division is not at all mandatory. There is no great advantage. And directly we'll have a, under enterprise, we'll have a primary ledger, under primary ledgers, legal entities, under legal entities, business units, under business units, inventory organizations. Okay, so this is the point we have to understand. Here, what is the great advantage of business unit? With a business unit, what we can do is you can segregate and maintain the data separately from one branch to other branch. The other important point is you can produce the reporting. Everything, each and every transactions you can record separately, so that you will be able to report branch wise with the concept called as business unit. That is the advantage of business unit. So these are the points we have to understand related to enterprise structure. Okay, just remember this point. What does it mean by enterprise structure? How that can be defined? You have to make a note of these points. Okay. So with enterprise structure, what we can do, the entire client business information we can structure in the system with a more segregation and with a more security. Data we can segregate in the system, which is related to employees, which is related to registration, which is related to business transaction, which is related to warehouse. Okay, this is how you can segregate and you can maintain in the system. So based on that, whenever you record the transactions, those all will be secured business unit wise, ledgers wise. And when we talk about how many we have to create, these are the points. One client, only one enterprise. You cannot create more than one. How many divisions? Reality, there is no great advantage of division. If somebody wants to create how many they need, accordingly you can create. But with the division, there is no application which you can use to record the transactions. And the primary ledger. So to record the business transaction, we require primary ledger. In all the applications, we need primary ledger, but primary ledger level, you can map GL and FA applications. And how many primary ledgers we have to create? One primary ledger for one country. Legal entries, how many registrations the company has, those many legal entries we have to create. How many business unit, as a best practice, always will create based on how many branches, outlets the company has, those many business units you have to create in the system. But when you create the business units, very important point is how many business units you are creating. With the same number you have to create companies. Okay, that's very important. The number of business units should be equal to number of companies which you are going to create within the chart of accounts under company segment. How many warehouses we have in the business, those many inventory organizations we have to create in the system. So these are the points we have to understand. Now any questions from anyone, please?
I have one question, Lakshman. Anita here. Yeah. So for example, we create one company, under one company, only one business unit can we create, or a number of business units? Yeah. For example,
Yeah, please go ahead.
For example, I have 1,000 company. Under 1,000 company, I have, for example, 1,000 business unit, 1,001 business unit, or 2,001 business. Can we go like this structure, or only for one company and one business unit?
Yeah. Okay. Say I'll have a one BU1. Okay. If I have BU1, I have to create company also one. The company name I'll give 1,000. So the very first point is how many BUs we have, accordingly we have to create the companies. Okay. So I'll take just simple example. So BU1, BU2, BU3. Three business units we have. So accordingly, you have to create the three companies. Reality, you have only one company as per business, but the company you are operating in the three branches. As the three branches or three locations, that is reason to track the business transaction branch wise for the same company. You have to create branch wise one value, 2,000, 3,000. Reality, you have only one company. Say that is the company name is consulting. You are doing only one business, that is the consulting. That you are doing in three locations. Since you are creating running that business in three locations, I create three business units. But business, your company is only one, consulting business. But in the system, when you are recording the transaction with the business unit 1 and 2, 3, you have to track separately the transactions. Business unit 1 means which company, business unit 2 means which company, 3 means which company. So you need to separate transactions you want to track separately with the different company codes. That is the reason even company is one, based on the business units, the same you have to create as a three companies. This is the point which we have to follow. Now, what is your question here?
For example, one company, for example, 1,000 company, we have BU1, BU2, BU3. So can't we take under 1,000 BU1, BUT? Can't we report that? What is the, for example, under this 1,000 company, I need only the BU1 transactions. 1,000 company.
Got it. Now that is true. You have BU1, three branches. Now you will take BU1. Okay, you will take BU1 and you will use, when you are recording the transaction, use as a company as 1,000, right? BU2, when you are recording the transaction, you want to use company as 1,000, right? That's what you are asking.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. When you do this within the subledger application, that is fine, because you are recording the transaction with the combination of BU1 and 1,000. With this combination, you can find out how many transactions you did. When you use 1,000 for BU2, with the combination of BU2 and 1,000, you can find out how many transactions are doing. When you record the transactions with the BU3 and 1,000, with this BU3 and 1,000, you can find out how many transactions recorded in subledger applications. But once you send the data to GL application for reporting, financial reporting, your BU data won't come to GL. In that case, how you can identify BU1 related transactions data in the GL for reporting?
Okay.
Got my point?
Can you please elaborate a little bit?
No. So in AP, accounts payables, I'll create one transaction with BU1. Okay, I'll select company as a 1,000 and I'll enter 20,000 transaction. Okay. And BU2, I'll select and I'll select the company as a 1,000. I'll create the transaction with the 25. I am doing everything in accounts payable application. BU3, I'll select same company. Since company you have only one. Here I'll got 30,000. Now it's clear, right? Now you can identify. In AP, if you go to BU1 with the company 1,000, how much amount you entered, you can identify, because combination is BU and company, right?
Yeah.
Now I'll send this total data to GL. Reporting. When I send to total date of reporting in GL, it shows company 1000, okay, total 75,000. Now, how can you identify out of 75 how much for BU1, BU2, BU3? Because in GL you cannot have any business unit.
Oh, got it. Got you.
Yeah, business unit. If you have a separate values here, 2000,
Yeah.
3000, let data come here, it will come with the company code, right?
Yes, understand. Now understand.
1000.
So in the GL,
Yeah, go ahead.
So in the GL, there is no interlink between to GL and business unit. So that is the reason.
No. You cannot see BU name in the GL. Only company codes. That is reason for every business unit you have to use a separate code.
Okay, now understand.
GL, if you see 1000, you can understand 1000 is belongs to 1000 you are using for which business unit you can understand. If you see 2000,
Yeah.
you can understand it is related to BU2. 3000 means BU3. That is the reason for each BU you have to use the separate code.
Yeah, understand, Lakshman. Now got you. Thank you.
Yeah. Even companies one, this is the reason we have to make as a different companies based on the business unit. As you mentioned, yes, only one company you have. You are operating in 3 locations. Yes, the same company you have to use. You can use it. That is the reality. In the system to maintain data more segregated manner for proper reporting purpose, proper reporting, you have to create for each business unit separate company. That's how you can track detail level. Any other questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman,
Yeah.
from a registration point of view,
yeah,
how a legal entity and business unit are, like they are, because business unit is a physical location, from what you said, right? So legal entity, so how they are related basically?
Yeah. Say you have one registration in US, you will create legal entity. ERP3 USA legal entity. Under this registration, you are running on business. That business you are running in 10 locations. Now we'll create 10 business units. 10 business units will create. Now for the 10 business units, you will assign the same legal entity. When you record the transaction with the BU1, that need to be reported to this legal entity. When you record the transaction to BU2, that need to be reported to the same legal entity. That means under which registration you are running that business unit, the business you are running, that you have to specify in the system. That we'll see when we are doing the setups, but just for information. So you have one registration, that means one legal entity. Under that registration, with that registration, whatever the business you are running, that you are running in 10 locations, so you have to create 10 BUs. So in this scenario, you have only one legal entity and you have 10 business units. I'll take another example. You are running the business, you have one registration and you are running the business also in only one location. In that case, how many BUs you require? Only one BU. Now your legal entity and your BUs are same. Now if you want to create your business unit, the business unit name also you can give as a legal entity name, because you are running in only one location, one registration. Now your BUs, number of BUs are equal to number of legal entities, since you are running the operations in one location.
Okay, so it's like your ERP3 LLC in, if this location is in New York, then it's the New York office.
That's it.
That's how. So by basically you give the address of your New York location,
exactly.
Your ERP3 USA LLC.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So any other questions, please? Now let's talk about chart of accounts few points. So we discussed. Yeah, please.
Sir, Lakshman sir, I'm Purnima. Suppose we have two legal entities, and each legal entity, first one is having 10 divisions or 10 branches.
Okay.
The second one is having 5 branches all over the place. Okay. So in such case, how many business units we are creating?
Yeah. See, let's take this. So ERP3 consulting legal entity, ERP3 financial services legal entity. For doing two businesses, you have a sub registration. Now tell me, under this registration, okay, you are running business in how many locations?
10.
10. Okay, 10. With this other legal entity, other registration, in how many locations you are running the business?
5.
Now, we'll create 10 BUs. Okay, we'll create 10 BUs, and the 10 BUs we will link with the first legal entity, consulting legal entity.
How do you do that?
That will do in the system. Here we cannot do.
Okay.
When you create the BU, system will ask, this BU you are running under which legal entity? It will ask us.
Okay.
I have to select consulting legal entity. Then system will understand. With any one of this BU, if I create any transaction, within the transaction, it will identify the transaction should be reported to as per so and so legal entity. It will identify automatically.
Okay. So, okay. So this you're giving 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. This 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 will be for 10, and again for 5 the ERP financial services also. You will have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 like that. Is that so?
Because you are going to have 15 here, right?
Yeah.
15 companies you have. So you have to maintain the unit numbering.
So how does it go? How does the numbering go here?
Any number you can give 1, 2, 3, 1 to up to 15 you can give. Or else 10, 20, 30, 14, 15 up to 150 you can give. But whatever 15 business units you are going to have, you have to create 15 companies, maintain unique number. You cannot repeat. Okay.
Yeah, that I agree. That I understand.
Yeah.
So this 1,000 you can is not mandatory. It is just a
example.
just an imagine.
Example I'm taking.
Okay. I got it.
You can give any number. Okay. You are interested to go with the single digit, or you are interested with go with a 2-digit numbering, or 3, 4.
Okay.
Or else you can give the numbering like this. 101.
Okay.
This is all.
Yes.
Fine.
So at the outset we are going to use 15 companies here. If we have 15
which number you want to use, generally that is a client interest. We'll ask the client what numbers you require, please tell me. Okay. These are the 15 companies. Each company will use for one business unit.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, please? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So Lakshman, for understanding, your business units will all roll up to its respective legal entities on the reporting side.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions here, please? Yeah. Now again, let's talk about chart of accounts. The chart of accounts we discussed, we'll have a company, we'll have a department, we'll have account, we can have segment called as project, required product, and if required intercompany. When we sit with the client, based on their business, they'll choose which segments they require and all. Then that's how we'll finalize the chart of accounts. And say service line, and say feature 1, feature 2. Now I'll take one example. I'll take this example. So only one legal entity we have, one registration, we have only one business. Okay, you can see many businesses like this. So in that case, your company means what? Your company is equal to what?
Business unit.
Business unit. Now you can take as a company that the business unit you can create as a company value, or else instead of that, what you can do is here you can take as business unit also. Segment name you can take as business unit. Reality, okay, even you take not only this example, forget about this example, take this example. Okay, take this example. Total you have 15 business units. Total you have 15 business units. The 15 business units you have to create as 15 companies, right? Company is nothing but business units. Now you can take segment name as a business unit. For some clients, this is how we implement. They'll choose the name they want to have as a business unit or company. And again, one more question. What are these 15? Of course, business units. Before that, what those are?
Company segment, right?
No. What we are converting as business units?
The locations.
Legal entity.
Means ideally branch, right?
Yeah, branch, the locations.
So this segment you can take as a branch, nothing wrong. Okay, you can take as branch. Branch means where you are operating the business. You can take operating unit. Where you are operating the business, that unit you are taking as a one of the segment as a company. You can name it as operating unit, or you can say operating area. Okay, or you can take as business unit. Any name you can use. You have to understand the logic. What is the meaning of it? If you understand, you can give any name. Finally, client will choose. They want to have as a company only, they want to have a name as a branch, or they want to have as an operational area, or they want to have a name as something like store, right? These are the 15 stores they have, 15 branches, 15 stores, the store or outlet, or business place. How they call as per their real business, accordingly you can give the name, but generally we use the name called as company. This is the point you have to understand. Okay, now I'll go with the other example. I'll take this example. So we have only one registration, we have only one branch. Since we have only one branch, we will create only one business unit. Now one branch, you have only one branch that you are creating as a business unit. You can take the name as a branch. Since we have only one branch or multiple branches, you can take. Or else the branches will convert into business units, you can take the name as business unit. Here, your branch, you are taking as business units. Number of business units are equal to number of legal entities. Only one branch you have, only one legal entity you have. Here, you can take segment name as a legal entity also. Okay, you can take segment name as a legal entity also. Segment name as a legal entity. There is no big difference. Okay, so your legal entity is the one and your business unit is the one. So directly you can take legal entity as a segment. How many legal entities you have? Only one. How many business units you have? Only one. So that's how you can take it. Okay, if you take this example, if we take this example, 2 legal entities you have, 15 branches you have. 15 branches will make as a 15 companies or business units as a segment. But when you record the transaction with the companies, automatically based on the companies, the transactions are belongs to which legal entity that you can pack. Still client wants to have a legal entity as a segment, you can have a legal entity also as one of the segment. Now this legal entity is 1111, say 111, this 222. Now when you record the transactions belongs to which legal entity. For first 10 companies, legal entity 111. You will select legal entity as a 111. You will select this any one of the company. When you select legal entity 222 here, you will select different one. This is how you can maintain, but this is not at all required. So when you create the business unit, we'll map this business unit is belongs to which legal entity we can select over there. If somebody want like this, we can create, but there is no great advantage. Okay, when you record the transfer with the company, every company means business unit. Every business unit is connected with the legal entity. When you create the business unit, we have to map the business unit with the legal entity. That's how automatically you can produce the reports. You don't need to have separate legal entity within the chart of accounts. So if you have only one business unit, only one legal entity, you can take any name. It doesn't make difference. So if you take this example, okay, if you take this example, if you take segment as a legal entity, you will select legal entity 1 or 2. What about companies? Now you cannot track the transaction detail level. In the branch 1, whatever you are doing, you cannot track detail level. So that won't become a great practice and you cannot produce the reports properly. That is the reason always will go with a company, or you can call the segment name as a business unit. Or you can call as branch or outlet or store, etc., how you call as or call for reality. So that's how you can have a different naming conventions. Okay. So in the company place, you can have a legal entity. If your number of companies, that means number of business units are equal to number of legal entities. You take example, they have 2 legal entities and they have 2 locations only they are operating. Consulting they are doing in 1 location, and financial services they are doing in 1 location. So this will create as 1 business unit, this will create as 1 business unit. Here 2 business units, 2 legal entities. Now you can create segment as a legal entity because your legal entity is equal to business unit. Separately you don't need to create business unit or company in the chart of accounts. Simply legal entity you can give. If you record the transaction with the first legal entity, that is equal to this only. That's how you can do the map. And I'll take one more example. You have these 2 businesses. Okay, you are running these 2 businesses, and the 2 businesses you are running in 1 location. So consulting, you have 1 branch. In that 1 branch you are running, you have a consulting related operations and financial related operations. The location is say Dallas. The Dallas you have 1 branch. The Dallas you have 1 branch. Make a note of this point. In Dallas you have only 1 branch. In that 1 branch you are operating these 2 different businesses. Now you tell me how many business units you have to create. Location is 1, branch is only 1, but in the same branch you are doing the 2 businesses. How many business units you have to create?
You still need 2 business units, right?
2 of them.
2.
Only 1 business unit.
No, 2. Reason you have to track the consulting business transactions and financial business transactions separately.
Because we have to report to.
Yes. 2 businesses you have.
We have to generate separately reports, both.
Yes. Okay. So even legal entity can be same for these 2 businesses also, but if you are running in 1 location, to track the transactions separately, you have to create the 2 business units. Okay. You take legal entity same. I'll take simple example. Okay. ERP tree legal entity. Okay. ERP tree USA legal entity. Now here you are running the 2 businesses. With this registration, you are running 2 businesses. One is consulting, other one is financial services. These 2 businesses you are running. 2 businesses you have, separate businesses. Now you have 1 branch in the Dallas. Okay, you are running these 2 businesses. When you are running these 2 businesses, you have to create, even branch is 1, legal entity is 1. You are doing 2 businesses. Ideally, you will have a requirement of tracking how much consulting business you are doing, how much financial service business you are doing. That you have to track separately. For that reason, you can create ERP tree Dallas consulting business unit. Other business unit is ERP tree Dallas financial services business unit. This is how you have to create separately. Okay. So this is how you have to create this separately. The point is how you want to track the data. You want to track the data business wise. If you have in 1 location, if you have only 1 business, location wise, because business is 1, location is 1, same. So these are the very important points we have to understand when we are going to finalize how many business units you have to create for the client. Anyway, in every point, whatever we are going to decide, client will involve, they have to give the approval, they have to accept, then only you can proceed. It is not like one way we just understand, we finalize. No. But what we should know on what base we have to finalize, these are the points we have to understand. Yep. So
Lakshman, Sridhar here. So in this case, I think we can go ahead with an additional segment which says line of business to capture if it's consulting or financial services, right? Do we really need to create two business units in this case?
Yes. See, if you create the separate business units, there is advantage. That level you can control the business transaction. If you have a line of business, you can just track. You cannot have a full control of how you want to perform the business transaction. That is a difference. Okay, there is a difference. If you have as a business unit, you can do the setups, how the transactions can be processed for that business unit. If you have as a line of business, the line of businesses level you cannot set in the system how the transactions can be processed, which transactions can be recorded, which transactions cannot be recorded for this business unit. That you cannot do that. If you have as a business unit, there is additional advantage. If you want to have as a separate segment line of business LOB, that just you can track the data, but you cannot have a required controls whichever you require.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Fine. So, and as we mentioned, that point also you can take in different case. Say, you can have it like this. Here company, you can take instead of company LOB, line of businesses. In that case, you can take consulting and financial services. And you can have one more segment called as company. Okay, here company means with the consulting. Okay, here consulting you have a business in 10 locations. With this financial services you have 10 locations, total 20. Here you will create 20 business units in the system. Here you will create 20 companies. So here you can have you take example, these two are under same legal entity. Two are under same legal entity. So you have a consulting business, you have financial services, and you are into automobiles. Three vertical of businesses you have. So three vertical of businesses you have. So consulting you have in 10 branches, financials 10, automobiles 5, total 25. 25 you can create as a 25 business units. That means 25 companies you can create. Here LOB, line of businesses. Okay, those you can have as a 3. When you are recording the transaction, so if these 3 are separate legal entity, when you record the transaction of the business unit can identify the transactions belongs to which legal entity. But these 3 are not legal entities. These 3 are falling under one registration. So system cannot track the company. If you record the transaction with business unit 10, the business unit is 10 is always, it says it belongs to this legal entity, but it won't say it belongs to which business, consulting, financial, automobiles. In that case, the business units what you are creating, those you can include with this name. Okay, with these names you can include dollars consulting, dollars finance service, dollars automobiles. Or else still if you want to capture line of businesses, okay, it falls under which line of business. First you can select consulting, then you can select the company related to consulting. That's how you can record the transaction. But ideally company will look at reporting always at the business unit level. Okay, these are all they can go with the just based on the data what they collect business units, they can identify these 5 business units are belongs to so and so line of business, these 5 business units belongs to so and so line of business, or else these 10 business units are belongs to so and so legal entity. That easily they can identify since that is a reality. So in the system always every company target very granular level of transaction tracking, that is a branch level. Branch wise what are the transactions they are recording, accordingly they can do it. They want to track these details also, what are the different businesses they have, those also if they want to track, they can have a segment called as LOB, line of business. The transaction belongs to which line of business, which business belongs to which branch, okay, that would be there, but belongs to which business also. The business unit belongs to so and so business only, But again, they want to track, they can go with additional segment called as LOB. Yep. This is what you have to understand.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Fine.
Lakshman,
Any questions, please?
Yeah. So Lakshman, the example we saw is, we are like physically having a location and the business is happening under location. On a contrary, let's take a company which sells an online product, like let's say like the LinkedIn Corporation. They, in all the locations, they do the same thing. How would you have a structure for a company like a LinkedIn?
See, even they're selling online, okay, they're selling online. The physically from where they're operating, there will be certain branches, right? If they have branches, accordingly they can treat. Otherwise, no physical locations to support that online business process. They will have only one place from where they're operating entire business. In that case, they'll just have only one business unit.
Okay. So the business unit, even though in spite they have like multiple locations, the business unit won't come into picture as a main deal. It could be like something other else, right? Like the products or
yeah. Again, see one more point. They are selling online. Say to do that business, they have a registration with the different countries, for example.
Okay. Okay.
So in that case, each country they can treat as one business unit.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how they can manage.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Fine. Any other question? And one more point here. Let's discuss few points here. So company, that's how you can take the name. Based on the reality, you can take this as a company or business unit if required legal entity. If number of business units are equal to number of legal entities, you can take. Okay. So in that case, you can take this as a legal entity. LOB also we discussed, if they want to have this also as a tracking, they can take as LOB. And department. Department you can call as cost center. Okay, you can take the name as department or cost center. So or else they can have one segment called as a division also. Okay, if they include the division as a part of enterprise structure, there is no great advantage. Here they can have segment called as a division. So in this case, they can select. So the transactions are belongs to which division? Okay. So APAC one division, EMEA they can have as one division. In that case, summary level they can prepare the reports. If they want to know how much business they did for APAC, automatically what are the business units we have, all this BU data they'll be able to capture. So that's how in the same way like other point also we discussed here, divisions. The same way based on vertical of businesses they can go with the division. If they include division as a part of chart of account, this can be useful for accounting. If they use division in the chart of account, they can take good advantage of this division. But if they take the division as a part of enterprise structure, in each and every transaction that cannot be included, because of that reason they cannot take the advantage of accounting the division based transactions. So this in most of the implementations we give the name as a cost center. So divisions always to track how much cost we are incurring for so and so departments. So that is the reason you can give as a cost center or you can give the name as division. For most of the implementations we use the name called as cost center. Okay, cost center. Or else you can have as a department. And in most of the in some implementations in staff account we call it as GL account or we call as natural account also. So these are the different names we use for the segment called as account. Most of the clients we use the name as a account, but some clients they ask us we want to have this segment name as GL account since we maintain all the accounts in the GL only. So all the accounts will maintain in the GL with the help of chart of accounts. So those we use in all the applications, that it is simply you call as GL account and natural account, because whatever the account you are entering, say if you enter the account called as salaries, you have to specify what is the nature. What is the nature of salaries? Expense account. Okay. What is the nature of expense? Nature of salaries? Expense account. The same way, if you take account called as accounts payable account, that account nature is liability. If you take account called as account receivables, the nature is asset. If you take account called as cash account, the nature is asset. So in the system, when you maintain the accounts, we have to set the nature. The account type is asset or liability or expense or revenue or ownership account. These natures we have to provide for all the accounts. That is the reason that account we call as natural account also. So reality, this is how we use the names. And the rest, so this, if they need project, product, if they need, and intercompany, some, if they are dealing with the product lines, and future one, or else here you can give as a name as a buffer 1, buffer 2 also. Okay, for future purpose, any naming convention you can give. Generally we give future 1, future 2, or else buffer 1, buffer 2, or default 1, default 2. This is how you can use any naming convention. Okay, any naming convention. So these are the points you have to understand. Any questions on this, please? No questions. So in tomorrow's session, just again go through these details. If you have any questions on this same point, chart of accounts or business units, enterprise structure, we'll discuss again in the tomorrow session. So in tomorrow's session, we'll discuss what are the best practices when you design the chart of accounts. We'll discuss those points and we'll proceed with the next topic. Okay, just go through today's session and yesterday's session. And in tomorrow's session, we'll just discuss about when we are going to design the chart of account, what are the best practices. And I'll give you the few examples which really be implemented for a few clients, 6, 7, 8 numbers. What are the different segments we have taken, those points, and what are the best practice we have to follow when you are designing the chart of accounts for any company. The very important point here is your chart of accounts, what we are designing, that will decide whether implementation is going to be successful or fail. Okay, the chart of account can decide. If you design the chart of account as per the reporting requirement, yes, you can say the implementation will be successful. If you design the chart of account just by taking without considering many points and without planning for future segments, etc., so the implementation will be failed, may not be immediately. Later they'll identify this is what we have to do, that flexibility we don't have. That will become big issue. So that is the reason we have to be very careful when we are designing the chart of accounts. Again, in one go, we don't design the chart of accounts. We'll talk to the client. We'll talk to them. These are the what are the information you want to capture. They'll say, we'll make a note. We will suggest. We'll create the draft mode chart of account by listing out some segments. Again, client will ask us, this is what we need. This is what we don't need, and whether that need to be included or no need to include. That can be managed in the other application. So there will be several rounds of discussion with the client. Then finally we'll decide the chart of accounts. If you take the duration of say 7 months project or 1 year project, the chart of account finalization all it will take 2, 3, 4 months also. Okay, initially we'll just go with some draft chart of accounts. We'll start showing the transaction to the client. If the client says, okay, this is also we want to include, we'll include. Finally, before we go and finalize the solution, the chart of account need to be finalized. Till the time, you can proceed with the draft chart of account, that too based on the client requirement, what segments they need. So that is the reason it won't happen in one go. So there will be several rounds of discussions and the changes in the chart of account. First we'll create the draft chart of account only. So later if any changes we'll do it. That's how we'll finalize. Once we finalize, that will take into the solution. So these are the points we have to understand. There are few other points also we'll discuss in the tomorrow session. Once we get into the system also, there are many other points which you have to understand related to chart of accounts. Once we start working on the transaction, there are a few other points you'll understand. Okay, in the various stages, you'll come to know certain points. Okay, now we can discuss those points also. It will create some confusion for you to understand. Okay, let's plan when you can understand. We'll introduce those. Okay. So for now, this information would be good information for you. Try to make a note of all these points, and if you have any questions, let me know. We'll discuss. And going forward, we'll add few more points related to this. So any other questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman, one small question.
Yeah.
Division is nothing but line of business, right? In simple terms.
It can be anything. That's what we discussed. Division, you can take how you division your business. Based on line of business, you can do the divisioning. Yeah, that is the example taken in the slide also, right? Consulting and do.
Yes. Right.
Division can be your line of business, or division can be some geography location. It can be anything. How you want to segregate. That's it.
Okay, based on the business requirement. Okay,
Yes.
Lakshman, thanks.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lakshman,
Question?
can you flip to the Word document, please? The one you have the enterprise registration. The Word document
for only my presentation purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
If you get out,
So my
do
question
anything with that other than understanding by seeing that, I'm including in the recorded video.
Okay. So my question is, do we register this as a physical record in the system? Like, this is legal entity, this is
Exactly.
business.
Yes.
Okay.
System should understand. If you go and write the name, system cannot understand. For system understanding, this we have to create. This is a legal entity we have to tell to the system. This is a business we have to tell to the system. For business unit, there will be separate setup to make system to understand that is as a business unit. For legal entity, there will be separate setup to make the system to understand as a legal entity. By writing the names, how you are writing the spreadsheet, if you write in the system, system cannot understand. For system understanding, we do these as a separate setups.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So that these would be available wherever those required as per business transactions.
Makes sense, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye. So anyway, this sheet I'll be sharing, this spreadsheet I'll be sharing, but let it be with me only. Just I use for presentations. That's all. Any other questions, please? Okay. And no questions. We'll talk about this chart of accounts in tomorrow's session also. We'll take you through a few more points. What are the best practices or some sample chart of accounts we'll go through. And once we're done with that, we'll proceed with a different topic. And meantime, if you have any questions, make a note. We'll discuss in the tomorrow session. And you go through that yesterday's session, today's session. When you play these videos, you may get some questions. Make a note. We can discuss in the tomorrow. So if no questions, we can wind up for today. If any questions, please. Seems to no questions. Then that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time. Thank you all. Have a good and good night.